Picture this. You're standing in a car dealership, keys in hand, facing two completely different machines. On your left sits a sleek, low-slung sports car that looks like it could slice through the wind at 200 miles per hour. On your right towers a massive SUV that seems ready to conquer mountains and haul your entire life from point A to point B. Both are calling your name, but only one can come home with you. So which one actually makes sense for real life? This is probably one of the biggest debates in the car world, and honestly, there's no simple answer. But today we're going to break down everything you need to know about both options so you can make the right choice for your actual life, not just your dreams. Let's start with what these vehicles are actually designed to do. Sports cars exist for one primary reason: to go fast and look amazing while doing it. Every single component in a sports car is engineered around performance. The engine produces massive amounts of horsepower, the suspension is tuned for precise handling, the brakes are designed to stop you from incredible speeds, and the aerodynamics are crafted to slice through air like a knife. When you press the accelerator in a sports car, you're not just moving forward, you're experiencing what engineers call controlled violence. The G-forces push you back into your seat, the engine screams behind you, and suddenly you understand why people become addicted to speed. SUVs, on the other hand, are built around a completely different philosophy. These vehicles prioritize space, comfort, and versatility above all else. An SUV is essentially a mobile living room that can also handle rough terrain. The higher seating position gives you a commanding view of the road, the spacious interior can accommodate multiple passengers in comfort, and the cargo area can swallow everything from grocery bags to furniture. Where a sports car asks, how fast can we go? An SUV asks, how much can we carry and how comfortable can we make everyone while we do it? Now let's talk about the driving experience, because this is where these two vehicle types couldn't be more different. Driving a sports car is pure adrenaline. Every input you make through the steering wheel, every press of the accelerator, every touch of the brake pedal is amplified and responded to immediately. The car feels like an extension of your body. When you take a corner in a sports car, you can feel the tires gripping the asphalt. You can sense exactly how much grip you have left, and you can push the limits in a way that's simply impossible in other vehicles. It's an experience that connects you to the machine and the road in a way that's almost spiritual for car enthusiasts. But here's the thing about that incredible driving experience. It requires the right conditions to truly shine. Sports cars are happiest on smooth, well-maintained roads with plenty of curves and straightaways. They want to be driven spiritedly, they want to stretch their legs, and they want roads that match their capabilities. In stop-and-go city traffic, that amazing performance becomes almost irrelevant. You're sitting in the same traffic as everyone else, except you're sitting lower to the ground. You can't see over other vehicles, and you're burning more fuel while going nowhere. SUVs offer a completely different driving experience, and for many people, it's actually more pleasant for daily use. That higher seating position isn't just about looking cool, it's about visibility and confidence. When you're sitting up high, you can see over traffic, you can spot potential hazards earlier, and you feel more in control of your environment. The ride quality in most SUVs is also tuned for comfort rather than performance. The suspension soaks up bumps and road imperfections, the cabin is quiet and isolated from road noise, and the overall experience is more relaxed and less demanding. This brings us to one of the most important considerations for real life: practicality. Sports cars are, let's be honest, pretty terrible at being practical. Most sports cars seat only two people, and even those that claim to have back seats usually have spaces that are only suitable for small children. The trunk space in a sports car is often laughably small. We're talking about enough room for maybe a weekend bag and some groceries, assuming you pack efficiently. If you need to move anything larger than a suitcase, you're probably calling a friend with a truck. The low ride height that makes sports cars so good at handling also makes them vulnerable to everyday obstacles. Speed bumps become navigation challenges, steep driveways can scrape the front bumper, and potholes that other cars barely notice can cause expensive damage to low-profile tires and suspension components. In winter conditions, sports cars with their low ground clearance and performance-oriented tires can become nearly undrivable. SUVs excel in all the areas where sports cars struggle. Need to move 5 people comfortably? No problem. Want to haul a week's worth of groceries plus sports equipment plus luggage for a family vacation? The SUV laughs at such a simple request. The higher ground clearance means you can tackle rough roads, construction zones, and winter weather with confidence. Many SUVs come with all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive systems that can handle conditions that would leave a sports car stranded. But all this practicality comes with trade-offs. SUVs are heavier than sports cars, sometimes by thousands of pounds. This extra weight affects everything about how the vehicle behaves. Acceleration is slower, braking distances are longer, and handling around corners is less precise. SUVs. The higher center of gravity that gives you that commanding view also makes the vehicle more prone to body roll in corners and, in extreme situations, more susceptible to rollover accidents. Let's talk about money, because this is where things get really interesting. The sticker price is just the beginning of the financial story with either vehicle type. Sports cars often carry premium price tags, but the real expense comes in ownership costs. Insurance for sports cars is typically much higher because insurance companies know these vehicles are more likely to be driven aggressively and more likely to be involved in accidents. The high-performance components in sports cars also cost more to maintain and replace. Those massive brake rotors, high-performance tires, and precision-tuned suspension components all carry premium price tags when they need service. Sports cars also tend to be thirstier when it comes to fuel consumption. Those powerful engines that provide all that thrilling acceleration also consume more gasoline, especially when driven the way they're meant to be driven. If you're commuting in stop-and-go traffic, you might find yourself visiting gas stations far more frequently than you'd like. SUVs have their own financial considerations. While they might cost less to insure than sports cars, their larger size means more expensive tires, more oil for changes, and generally higher maintenance costs due to their complexity. The fuel economy in SUVs has improved dramatically in recent years, but they're still generally less efficient than smaller vehicles. However, SUVs often hold their value better than sports cars, especially popular models from reliable manufacturers. Safety is another crucial factor that often gets overlooked in these discussions. Sports cars have a mixed safety record. On one hand, they're often equipped with the latest safety technology and are built with strong, lightweight materials. The performance capabilities that make them fun to drive can also help you avoid accidents by allowing you to accelerate or brake out of dangerous situations. However, the low profile of sports cars can make them less visible to other drivers, and the temptation to drive aggressively can increase accident risk. SUVs generally perform well in safety tests, particularly in collisions with smaller vehicles. The higher seating position provides better visibility, and the larger size and weight can be protective in crashes. However, the higher center of gravity does increase rollover risk, and the stopping distances are typically longer than smaller, lighter vehicles. Now let's address the elephant in the room: what other people think. Sports cars are attention magnets. They turn heads, start conversations, and make statements about their owners. For some people, this attention is exactly what they want. There's something undeniably satisfying about driving a beautiful machine that makes people stop and stare. However, this attention isn't always positive. Sports cars can attract unwanted attention from law enforcement, jealous individuals, and thieves. The stereotype of the sports car driver as someone who's reckless or showing off can affect how others interact with you on the road. SUVs make a different kind of statement. They suggest practicality, family responsibility, and success without ostentation. In many social circles, driving an SUV signals that you have your priorities straight and that you're focused on practical concerns rather than frivolous pursuits. However, SUVs can also be seen as symbols of excess, particularly large models that seem oversized for their actual use. Weather and climate play huge roles in the practicality of each vehicle type. Sports cars with their low ground clearance and performance tires can become nearly unusable in snow and ice. Even all-wheel drive sports cars struggle with winter conditions because their tires are optimized for dry pavement performance rather than cold weather traction. Rain can also be challenging for sports cars, as their powerful engines can easily overwhelm the tire's grip in wet conditions. SUVs shine in adverse weather conditions. The higher ground clearance helps with snow depth, the all-wheel drive systems provide better traction, and the weight distribution helps with stability. Many SUV owners find that their vehicles give them confidence to drive in conditions that would keep sports car owners parked at home. The environmental impact is another consideration that's becoming increasingly important. Sports cars, with their powerful engines and poor fuel economy, generally have a larger carbon footprint than more efficient vehicles. However, the sports car market is rapidly evolving with hybrid and electric options that maintain performance while reducing environmental impact. SUVs have traditionally been even worse for the environment due to their size and weight, but like sports cars, they're rapidly adopting more efficient powertrains. Let's talk about the emotional aspect, because cars aren't just transportation, they're emotional purchases. Sports cars tap into our desires for excitement, freedom, and youth. There's something primal about the experience of acceleration, the sound of a well-tuned engine, and the feeling of being connected to a powerful machine. For many enthusiasts, a sports car represents the fulfillment of childhood dreams and the reward for years of hard work. SUVs appeal to different emotions. They represent security, capability, and responsibility. The feeling of sitting up high, of being able to handle whatever the road throws at you, of having space for everything you need, appeals to our practical nature and our desire to be prepared for anything. The reality is that most people's daily driving consists of commuting to work, running errands, and occasional longer trips. For this this type of driving, the advantages of sports cars are rarely utilized, while their disadvantages are constantly apparent. You don't need to accelerate from 0 to 60 in under 4 seconds to merge onto the highway, but you do need to carry groceries, passengers, and cargo on a regular basis. However, if your daily routine includes spirited driving on good roads, if you rarely carry passengers or cargo, and if the emotional satisfaction of driving something special is important to you, then a sports car might make sense despite its practical limitations. The compromise solution that many people choose is to have both, a practical daily driver and a sports car for weekends and special occasions. This approach gives you the best of both worlds, but obviously requires the financial resources to purchase, insure, and maintain two vehicles. For most people making a single vehicle choice, the decision comes down to honest self-assessment. How do you actually use your car? How important is practicality versus emotion in your daily life? How much are you willing to sacrifice in terms of convenience for the sake of driving enjoyment? If you're someone who regularly carries passengers, hauls cargo, drives in adverse weather, or simply wants a vehicle that can handle any situation without drama, an SUV is probably the better choice. If you're someone who drives primarily alone, values the driving experience above all else, and is willing to make practical sacrifices for emotional satisfaction, a sports car might be worth considering. Thanks for watching, and if this helped you think through your next vehicle purchase, make sure to subscribe for more practical car advice that cuts through the hype and focuses on what really matters in the real world.